this is Mike from Synergy Inline with a video review / how to modify the USD Classic Thrones. Now, a lot of people ride the Classic Thrones, and for many very good reasons. If you have a pair of Classic Thrones and it's the same system as this, tumor play system, shell and cuff, this review applies to the skate. So if you have a pair of these and you're looking to modify them in any way possible, check this video out. I believe USD, for at least the past maybe 8 or 9 years, has been releasing USD Classic Thrones with this particular system. So anyway, let's get to it. What we have here is the standard USD Throne V-cut cuff. Now, V-cut cuffs are my favorite because it helps you with flexibility when you're trying to jump and maneuvering when you're skating and stuff. That's just my favorite. It's a thick cuff. It's not flimsy in any way. It doesn't, never seen one break, so that's great. The shell. Now, most pros recommend that for sizing in these shells, you size up at least one size because it's a relatively narrow shell. It's not like razors that are a little bit wider naturally. So I'm about a true size 7, 7.5, and so I would size up to about an 8. Now, the tumor plate. This is a very, very hard, durable plastic, the tumor plate here. But this midsole system is the most it's the most popular thing about this skate. It's what makes it kind of famous. It's a two-piece system, which means that it slides really well because there's less surface tension. Like in the area here, this doesn't touch when you grind. So it gives you a really smooth, sustained grind. It has a very nice wide sole as well, and a very decent sized negative. Another thing is that it has like this ridge here that protrudes higher than the actual midsole, which kind of helps for locking on rails, and it also helps you kind of lean over a little bit more on ledges. So that's a really great thing. The backslide plate. Now, this is by no means a beginner's backslide plate. And the reason is because it doesn't protrude out the full width of the sole. It's kind of a little more broken in. But if you get a pair of these and you get down on your royales and your backfires and your back torques and stuff, and you tweak that thing all the way down, it's gonna look sick. So that's one of the things people love about these skates. I mean, pretty much any pair of frames you stick on with this backslide plate, it matches up really nice. And just break it in on a ledge or something, and it's just great. Anyway, one of the really only problems I had with these was that they were heavy, and we'll talk about that in a second. Now let's talk about sizing. For this particular skate we talked about earlier, when I bought these, I got a size 9. I should have got a size 8, but size 9 was fine. What I did was I actually put a piece of cardboard here. And what that does is it kind of protects your shock absorber and your liner from doing any type of damage on the bottom, you know what I mean? The UFS receivers and both T-nuts and stuff. If you don't have this piece of cardboard, what's going to happen is, over time, as you're riding the skates, it's going to destroy either your shock absorber or your liner, whatever's touching the boot. Now, I like to have that in there. I think it's just really important. Now, the shock absorber goes. Now, a lot of people have different opinions about shock absorbers. Some people like to have the very, very minimum amount of shock absorber in there, so that they're as close as they are to the frame inside the shell, which makes it more responsive. But, however, I like to make sure that there's a shock absorber in all my skates because it kind of helps with the comfort level. Now, this is actually exercise foam. It comes 1/2 inch. I cut it to the shape of the inside of the shell, and I took a long knife and I just filleted it flat. And that basically makes my shock absorber. It's about 1/4 inch, and this material is actually quite comfortable. It coheres really nice to your skate, and it will eventually heat mold your feet as well. So that's the one thing I like about this. I made it the length of my foot like this because this is a size 9 liner, and my feet are about a size 7.5, 8. So it kind of helps with the fit, the responsiveness. Now, it's a big controversy between a lot of people. They don't like to see. I have carbon 4 liners in these skates, and the thing about these is that the footbed does not have a lot of natural shock in them. So that was another reason why I added the shock absorber. But what I wanted was I wanted it to fit nicely, but I wanted it to be very comfortable and responsive. I mean, if you put on a pair of skates and within 1 hour you're feeling pressure points and your feet hurt, you know, something's wrong with that. That's not good. You have to have the right balance between comfort and responsiveness. And what I've done here, I believe with this the way I have it set up, is the perfect way to achieve that. I mean, when I'm wearing these things, I mean, they feel great. And these carbon 4 liners actually mold to your feet, so that's another plus as well. Helps with pressure points. But when I'm wearing these, I mean, they just feel really comfortable. I've skated for like 6, 7, close to 8 hours in these things straight, and you know, not even felt a pressure point. And it really is huge for me, you know, as far as comfort and responsiveness. So anyway, now we're going to dig into how to modify the Classic Throne. Alright, this is the front part of the tumor plate system for the Classic Thrones. And this part is actually relatively light. I didn't really do any modifications to it. I drilled a couple holes. One there, one there, one there, and one there. Any hole that you drill on the actual sole plate side and the negative and the sole side, it's really not going to affect the integrity of the skate. Because unless you're doing disaster tricks, there's not a whole lot of force that's put on this area of the skate for crackage. However, this part is where the frame goes. Right here and right here, this alleyway here is where a lot of the force from jumps goes. So I just drilled two holes. It's just a little bit of plastic. I mean, if you feel uncomfortable about drilling holes, then by all means, just don't do it. If you think it's going to crack, then don't do it. Anyway, that's basically it. Alright, so this is the heel plate of the Classic Thrones tumor plate system. Now, this part is crucial to how I modified this skate. This piece, when I first got these skates, was probably accounted for almost 2/3 of the weight of the skate, boot only. It is incredibly bulky and just really heavy. I mean, it weighs more than the shell. Anyway, as you can see, what I've done here is I've drilled some holes. I was very strategic in drilling the holes. It's important when you're drilling holes that you do not drill them very close together. If you do that, it increases the chances for the thing to crack. As you can see, I didn't drill any holes along the path of where the frame sits on the actual thing, because that's where a lot of the pressure comes in. I did a couple here, but I've been skating these for about almost a year now, and they have not cracked for me. However, I am only 135 pounds, so if you're a heavier guy and you're riding Classic Thrones, by all means, you feel this is going to mess up your tumor plate, don't drill the holes. As you can see, I drilled a few here in the sole side and also the negative side. This, I don't believe, will compromise the structure integrity of the skate. It'll make it lighter, because for me, the biggest problem with these skates is that they were super heavy. Anyway, drilled one there, you know, it's kind of, that doesn't take any abuse at all there, you know. But the biggest reduction in weight that I did for this piece here is I drilled holes on the downward angle on the sole side of the heel plate of the tumor plate. As you can see, I reduced the weight by drilling these holes. And that's where a lot of the weight significantly comes away from. I don't believe drilling these holes is going to compromise the structure of this thing at all. A lot of people could argue that these holes will. People could say this could crack. If you think so, don't drill them. But I think that drilling holes in this direction will reduce the weight of the skate and also make it, you know, still not compromise the structure of it. Obviously, it's a little bit less durable because I'm taking plastic out, but, you know, that's really a preference. Anyway, another thing I did on these skates was the UFS receiver is actually in these skates is here. It is not inside the shell. It uses the same system that Valo has. They use T-nuts, 4 in the heel and 6 in the front. What I've done here is that I've actually attached these. I took the UFS receiver out and I put it into this shell, which I'll show you in a second. But what I've done is created a little bit of a bushing here. This is actually regular credit card type things, and I measured it to size, drilled a hole in it, and what that does is it basically kind of acts as like a piece of plastic that makes it flush, so that when I bolt this all together, it's a nice sturdy fit. Nothing's concaving or getting compressed together when you tighten the bolt. And that's basically how I modified the heel plate for the tumors. Alright, one of the most important things I did to this gate to modify them is I eliminated a lot of hardware. And as you're going to see in a second, is that I actually put the UFS receivers inside the boot, which eliminated most of the T-nuts and all the hardware involved in that. However, to do that, you have to have an 1.25" by 3/16 diameter bolt to go into the heel. So essentially this is going all the way from the frame up into the shell to the UFS receiver to hold the entire skate together. So essentially that's pretty much the basic system that most UFS skates have, is one bolt that goes from the frame all the way into the shell and holds the midsole in place. That's what I've done here. If you're watching this review and you're thinking about doing this to your skates, you think it's a good idea, you need a bolt this big. This is a 50/50 bolt, and as you know, 50/50 is out of business. They don't really sell these. If you have 50/50 frames lying around, most likely you have this bolt, but they're not common. They don't sell these with skates anymore. I don't really know any frame companies that sell this size bolt. However, you could go to a machine shop. You could probably go to Home Depot, Lowe's, some of the places that sell this type of stuff, and you could find something similar to this. Again, the measurement is, it is an 1.25" long, okay, and it is 3/16 diameter. That is not including the threads. When you measure a bolt's diameter, you don't include the threads. It's very important to know. For this setup, for the Classic Thrones, I have two 1/16 washers, which is essentially 1/8, which gives me a perfectly flush, doesn't protrude up through the shell for my skates. Anyway, that is very important if you're going to do this modification. Alright, here's some of the basic modifications I did to the shell. I did a lot of work on the shell. Now check it out. I drilled a few holes just to reduce weight, right around here. This is where the cuff goes. Just built a couple half-inch holes around here strategically. I didn't drill them close together, so it doesn't break it. This is kind of a stretchy plastic, so it makes it a little more flexible, which I think is cool. I drilled a few holes here because I didn't believe it was going to hurt the skate at all. Just reduce the weight a little bit. I also drilled some holes here behind the heel of the tumor plate. You can see they are all disguised. You will not be able to see them once the tumor plate is on, but it reduces the weight a little bit as well. I drilled a few in the heel here, as you can see. Just a few, way back in the back of the heel. Now it's very important to know that when you're drilling holes, if you want to do this to reduce the weight of your skate in the bottom of your skate, you do not drill them around the UFS receiver, because it will weaken the integrity of the skate. And this part will rip out eventually, and your shell will be ruined. So again, I cannot stress enough, when you're drilling holes, be very careful. Do not go crazy and just drill a million holes in your skate and expect them to work good, because it's not going to. Just did a couple back there. I also did a few here, just 4 right up front. I didn't go crazy. Like I said, this is like a no-no area. You do not drill holes here. You want this to be strong and steady for the modification of your skate. Honestly, I've modified a pair of UFS Thrones before, the shell, and the shell of those is actually, I would say it was at least 1 time heavier than these. It's about 2 times heavier. This shell is actually relatively light. That's why I didn't really need to do that many modifications on it. But the most important modification I made to reducing the weight of this skate was putting the UFS receiver on the inside of the shell. See here? So having the UFS receiver in here and bolting the frame to the skate through the midsole and into the shell creates a really solid fit. As you can see, this little white thing here, this is actually a credit card. There's about 3 of them. I cut them to length, the shape here, and I stacked them on top of each other, drilled a hole in them, and the UFS receiver is actually level with the bottom of the shell, which I think is incredibly important for any modifications. If this thing is protruding up in any way, if it's not flat, it's going to kind of like demolish whatever's on top of it, whether it be a piece of cardboard, a shock absorber, liner, whatever. Over time, it will destroy it. So I thought it was very important to have this level, and it's also very important to make sure that, you know, you have bushings in between the UFS receiver and the frame, so that it, you know, it doesn't, it's a nice tight fit. Anyway, I didn't have to do that for the front piece here, because it was actually the perfect, I mean, if you own a pair of Classic Thrones, you'll see that it has this, like, rectangular indent here, which basically is for the UFS receiver or any type of hardware. But anyway, in the front I didn't have to do anything. What I basically did to get these holes was I put the tumor plates on, and I drilled the holes very carefully. I made sure that they were centered. This is one of the most important things you'll do when modifying it. You want to make sure that the hole is directly centered, and it's exactly where it needs to be. The tumor plates are nice and secure. As a matter of fact, you should screw them in and then drill the hole, front and back. One important feature about this skate that you'll know, we didn't talk about in the beginning, was that it has a slight heel lift here, as you can see. When this part is flat down, you can see that there's about a 1/2 inch heel lift. This is a preference for a lot of people. This is similar to a Valo style skate or Rossi's. Some people prefer this, some people do not. You have skates like the Carbons, the UFS Thrones, Rems. Depending if it has a shock absorber in it or not, they're flat. Classic Thrones, Valo style skates, Rossi's have this heel lift. It kind of makes your jumping experience a little different. I prefer both. I really don't. It doesn't bother me. But you know, it's really just a preference. But anyway, that's basically most of the modifications. Although I will show you the most important thing that I've done here is by putting the UFS receiver inside the shell like this, I have eliminated hardware. You don't need as many T-nuts. So essentially, because the receiver's on the inside of the shell, I've eliminated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 T-nuts and their bolts, which if you take the hardware out and you hold it in your hand, it's a pretty significant amount of weight. It does add up. I believe that when the frame is attached to the skate and the midsole attached with the receiver on the inside of the shell, it creates a really sturdy fit to where you don't actually need all of these T-nuts, which was very important for the modification of the skate and making it lighter. Alright, now I'm going to show you how to attach the heel plate of the tumor plate system to the shell with the way I've modified it. Now, as you can see here, one of the most important things I've done with the heel is I put these little credit card plastic bushing things in here, and you'll see that what they basically do is they help you have a really good fit. You don't want this space empty, because this is where the old receiver was. You don't want this empty because when you bolt this together, the shell is going to concave into that empty space there. So putting that plastic there is very important for the structural integrity of it. Now, you place this down flat. You make sure these bad boys are lined up. And you put this on just like that. Then what I like to do is I like to put the Allen key right into the receiver so that the bushings don't move around. Flip her upside down. Do the same thing here. And make sure they're nice and straight. Make sure this bad boy is flat. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my bolts. I'm going to attach the tumor plate via the T-nuts that I have here. And this is before I screw in the frame. It's obviously smarter to do this. Tighten that real good. Okay, Put the one on the back slide plate in. Nice and tight. Okay, now you make sure these things are nice. Make sure there's nothing obscuring the hole, because they will move around if you do not make sure they're flat. And then it's time to put the frame on. Keep it upside down so that the frame doesn't move. And basically that is how you do it. You have to do it like this so that those don't move around. Once you bolt it in, they will not move, and you will not have any problems. That's basically it for our video review. Now, if I was to rate these skates on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give them about a 7.5. The only flaw that I found in them was that they were just a little bit too heavy. That's it. I wanted to give a special thanks to Matthew Mickey out in California in Intuition Skate Shops for hooking me up with these bad boys. They're just great. I love them. If you're digging this review, if you have any questions or comments, please post them below. You can check us out on YouTube and Facebook at Synergy Inline. We're just a small group of guys based out of New Jersey. You know, we're not even pros. We're not pros or even amateurs. We're not even really that good. We're just a group of guys that are just absolutely passionate and love rollerblading. We just want to do our part in the industry to kind of help people out, choose what pair of skates to get, or, you know, just give information on rollerblading. And, you know, it's just like, we go to skate parks all the time, and kids see us rolling around and they're like, what are you doing with those things? How do you grind on those? And it's like, you know, people don't even know. And I think it's just really, it's important that we as rollerbladers kind of help bring that awareness, do what we can to bring awareness to our local community, and try to get kids involved in this, because it's just really a liberating thing to do. That's basically it. You know, until next time, peace and love and cheers.